Our third presentation this morning, we thought it would be very interesting to have some information on the European crop. Europe has had a very challenging growing season this year, and certainly the gentleman who's going to present that to us is Cedric Porter. He's very knowledgeable in terms of production there. He is the co-editor of the World Potato Markets newsletter based near London, England. We've been a subscriber of his information for a while. It's very, very, very up to date and comes out weekly. Along with his colleague Guy Faulkner, he provides weekly updates on the global potato and potato product prices, trade, and production. He also publishes a monthly newsletter on Brexit for the food and farming industry. He's a trustee of the charity Linking Environmental and Farming, which promotes integrated farm management and encourages better public knowledge of farming. So, Cedric, please join us.
So yeah, thank you very much, Kevin, and thank you very much to the organisers and the sponsors to the event. And good to see you all in the hall here, and I'll give a wave to everyone who's watching online as well. So I'm from England. I like to, when I travel, to see some of the, take joy in some of the differences in places that I visit, but also looking at some of the similarities that we have. And I've just come from a country where there's political chaos about the future of borders with our nearest neighbours and our relationship with the nearest neighbours. And I was trying to think, is there any similarity of where I've come to in the US? And then watched Mr. Trump last night, and I thought, yeah, that's it. We're united by our political uncertainty, but certainly united also in our love of the potato. Whether we call it chips or fries, we all love our spuds. So, just looking at the European production outlook and the market here, World Potato Markets weekly newsletter. I know many of you have. Take that, and many thanks for that. And if there's anything you'd like to discuss and how we present the information, please come and see me over the next couple of days. Just a little bit more about that. I'll whiz through there. So in Europe, we've seen the sun. Well, we saw the sun last year when it was great. So, you know, for the worst drought for the 40 years. So there was plenty of this going on. Everyone enjoying the sun. Unfortunately, that's not me. Too tan, too young, and too slim. That guy there. But so we all enjoyed that. But it led to this. It burnt up a lot of our potato crops, and particularly those people who couldn't irrigate. Irrigation is not so widely used as it is in the US, and so particularly on that, it affected a lot of our crops. So actually, we saw in the EU, we saw the smallest potato crop ever, and so that orange line, there's columns there. You know, since the turn of the century, we've gone down from around about 80,000 tons, 80 million tons to just over 50 million tons in the whole of the EU. So it's a declining picture there, a 36% reduction since 2000. But the other story on that is actually that there's 5 countries that really are now producing a lot of the potatoes. More than half of the potatoes just come from 5 main countries in the northwest of Europe: Belgium, France, Germany, Netherlands, and UK, increasing their production. But we're hitting the sort of concept of peak potato in some of those countries where the land, there's not a great deal more land available to grow. And we've seen actually that there's been a shift to places like France where there is more land to grow potatoes, and places like Netherlands and now increasingly Belgium finding it more difficult to expand their production as they've done in the last few years. And of course, what does that do to price? A classic supply and demand. The supply is down, demand, the price goes whizzing up. These are the free buy prices for processing potatoes. And you see here, let me just get so there we are. This is the price at the moment, or just around about that. So this is in euros per tonne. Just over 250 euros a tonne, edging up towards around about $300 a tonne. And if you look at what we were on the free buy price last year, we were around about 30 euros a tonne. So we've seen a 1,000%, a 10 times increase in the price of the free buy price of potatoes. Around about 65% of the production of processing potatoes in the EU is done on contracts. So a lot of that will be outside that, but obviously those contracts that are going to be agreed in the next year will reflect some of that increase in the free buy price. One of the big issues for the European market is this massive volatility. You hardly see this volatility in any other commodity anywhere in the world. So that is an issue of trying to smooth out some of that, and there's perhaps some lessons to be learned there from the US and Canada. This impact really hasn't really been seen on what's probably important to you in terms of competitiveness. So far, we haven't seen a great deal of impact on the exports of EU fries. So you've seen this sort of gradual, it's not that gradual, it's quite a steady increase there in exports of EU's fries. So these are EU fries going outside the EU, and that market has been growing steadily in France. The black lines there are actually the October figures in each of those years. So you can see sort of record exports in totality in October. I think we're expecting now, and some of the figures that are starting to come through, actually showing there is a bit of a slowdown inevitably because of the lack of supply. There's a bit of a slowdown in exports of fries and other potato products. The EU product is still cheaper than the North American product. You see the Belgian line at the bottom here. Again, these are in US dollars per ton, and so significantly cheaper than the US product. They're slightly different products, in the size and the type of potato fries that are being sold and frozen fries that are being sold. And there you see sort of Canadian fries and Dutch fries, similar sort of price. Of course, most of the majority, more than 80% of Canadian frozen fries go south of the border into the US. But these sort of markets are competing with each other for some of that global growth that Steve was showing there in terms of China, Asia, and South America, some of the big growing areas in the world. But if we go back to the last high-priced weather-related season in the EU, that was 2012, 2013. That was for completely different reasons. That was sort of record rainfall levels. And there in the season, we saw a 22% increase in the price of EU fry exports in that season, and I think we're expecting that again. So we're going to be seeing, and we'll probably seeing EU fry prices go over the $800 to $900 a ton figure. So that perhaps make the US Canadian fries a little bit more competitive on some of the other world markets. Although, and as Kevin has said about the problems in Canada in terms of production there, weather-related problems, and of course potatoes being perhaps one of the most vulnerable crops to the weather, that's significant. So just looking at sort of a bit of crystal ball gazing, what's going to happen with the EU crop? What's happened was from the 2018 harvest, that weather impact has then gone on to the seeds and seed availability, and some varieties and things. There's lack of variety. So I think we're sort of assuming that that will affect plantings, and we might not see a big increase in plantings in Europe, and we would sort of perhaps hold sort of steady where we are in the area. And again, that focus in those main 5 countries, Belgium, France, Germany, Netherlands, and the UK. But a very good harvest, we could see in those 5 areas, we could see record production of 32 million tonnes. So I could, if I'm invited back next year, could be showing you a graph where the prices plunge right down again because we've got record supplies potatoes. But it still seems to be pretty dry in Europe. We've had some rain, but it's overall we're still low, and the next 2 or 3 months is obviously going to be important. And if we don't have that much more rain, then we could still be in a dry position, and that could affect what we've got. So there's just the dollar, the euro against the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. The US dollar is relatively strong against the euro, but the Canadian dollar is a little bit weaker. So just looking beyond that and some of the sort of key issues, both sides of the Atlantic. So trade, we've got Mr. Trump and Mr. Xi Jinping, and I think the whole world is hoping that there can be better relationships there. Climate change and weather obviously had a big impact, both sides of the Atlantic. And sort of eating habits, this idea of eating less, flexitarian, vegetarianism, veganism, whatever, and is that going to impact us? There's on the sort of trade issues, potatoes haven't been so affected, especially in China, in terms of the sort of trade negotiations. But we've seen a reduction in October fry exports to China and to Mexico from the US. So things are sort of starting to bite, and I think it's not always if there's actual, often if there's actual sort of measures in place, it can be the sort of psychological, and I suppose it's the trading flows as well with the number of boats going across and whatever, that can have an effect. So that certainly is having an effect, but there's trade issues on the EU too. Colombia has been a big growing market for EU fries, but Colombia is suggesting that it's going to put tariffs, or wanting to put tariffs on imports from the EU. Brazil has already put some restrictions on EU imports. Russia, a sort of politically incentivized ban on the imports of fresh EU potatoes. And there has been some talk about extending that ban, although at the moment fries can still go in. And over the last few years, South Africa has also put restrictions on EU fries. But the biggest threat to the EU is much closer to home, just over the English Channel, and Brexit. And if I just had one word to say about Brexit at the moment, it would be that one, I think. Just running through some key points. So we're less than 80 days away from the planned Brexit day at the moment, and there has been the easy bit is being done. The EU countries and the UK has actually agreed a deal. The difficult bit is actually getting that through the British Parliament, and they're now due to vote on that next week. It looks likely, still likely, that Theresa May will probably lose that just about, maybe a little less likely that she'll lose it than before Christmas. And then we're into a real sort of uncertain period. And I think the sort of where the mood is changing, that there is now a majority of MPs who don't want this sort of cliff edge Brexit, where the UK just tumbles out of the EU. If it did, they would go back to World Trade Organization rules, and that would actually cost import. The UK is one of the world's largest, alongside the US, is one of the world's largest importers of potatoes and potato products, and that would cost around about an extra 130 million euros for EU suppliers to the UK if there were tariffs on that. So around about 20,000 trucks of frozen fries go into the UK every year from mainly Belgium and Holland. There might be some opportunities there for the US and Canada. 2,000 tons of US fries were shipped into the UK in 2015-16. So there's always a cloud for some, a silver lining to the cloud for someone. Just moving on quickly, climate change, and this is obviously the issue that really, to me, affects everyone, and perhaps the biggest issue that we face. And all the evidence does point to the world getting hotter and more flooding, drought conditions getting more extreme. And that sort of coordinated global approach is what we need to be taking. But potatoes do have a good tale to tell. Oxford University research was saying that the potatoes only emit around about 15% of the greenhouse gases that rice do, and around about 42% of pasta. So, you know, good tales for us all to tell there and unite around. Just a promotion for the organisation that I'm vice chairman of, Linking Environment and Farming, which sets a sort of a sustainable standard, if you like, of integrated farm management, and then also engages people in talking about that. Just moving on to eating habits, these are some of the headlines we've seen in the last years. A tripling in the number of people doing veganuary. I'm doing sort of dry January, but I'm certainly not doing veganuary. So going vegan, I couldn't do both at the same time. The BBC, there was a program on the BBC that was saying 1 jacket potato is the equivalent of 19 cubes of sugar. A Harvard professor was condemning French fries as starch bombs. So these are all the sort of issues that we all face together, and that sort of focus on potatoes. You know, obviously from vegan point of view, plant-based, and I think if we did find the potato in the Andes now, we would be trumpeting it as the ultimate superfood with all those fantastic minerals, vitamins in it, gluten-free, sugar-free, fat-free, sodium-free. Wow, it's fantastic and delicious. And good value. What more can you ask for? So I think, you know, we do need to be united behind that, and that's the campaign, the International Potato Centre's campaign, Imagine a World Without Potato. I think that is so good and important, and I think they're here at the Expo today and tomorrow. And also I'd sort of promote, I know the World Potato Congress that was in Peru this year or last year, going to Ireland in a couple of years' time, and I know that very much that sort of pushing the potato as actually having not a solution, but helping some of the world's issues in terms of nutrition, climate change, and whatever is going to be important there. And I know Liam Glennon from the organising committee is here, so go up and say hi to him. So this is me imagining a world without potatoes. Unimaginable, I think, to all of us here. So just this sort of final thought, really, in this what we call a VUCA world of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. I think that businesses have to take a lead where and when politicians fail to do so, in terms of addressing things like climate change, nutrition, and lobbying on sort of freer trade and things like that. We need to take that lead if our politicians fail us in that, and that's certainly lessons I've been sort of taking in the last couple of years from my side the Atlantic. If you do want to come and see some of the European systems, Potato Europe is in Belgium this year. It's a good opportunity to go and see some of the Belgian industry as well. And I know Michelle is here from the organising committee there, and that's in September. So please do come over and see us in the UK, whether we're part of the EU or not. You're most welcome to come in. Whether we'll be welcome to go out is another issue, but there we go. So many thanks for that. That's a whiz through on Europe, and I look forward to meeting lots of you in the next couple of days and celebrating the potato. Many thank you. Thanks.